went to Tech Yourself Addressing Implicit Bias and Transition Planning, and the speakers are Tracy E. Sinclair and Joshua M. Pullis. And a quote that I really liked was to value students' cultural and linguistics resources and view the knowledge as capital to build rather than as a barrier to learning to facilitate students' learning and development. So going into the presentation, they gave 3 things to be mindful to avoid. And the first one is tokenism, expecting your CELD students to be the voice of an entire population, placing the responsibility on the student to teach you. Cultural assumptions, assuming a student from X culture ascribes to all aspects of X culture. Assuming stereotypes often portrayed equal a culture. And the last one is overgeneralization. So this is applying what you know about a particular student to all members of a population. And as educators, it's important that we treat our students as individuals and that we allow the voices of the minority to be heard. And as educators, we can be careful to practice. The first one is active listening. Listen without placing your expectations on the student. Humility. No one knows everything. Support. Do so without judgment. Ask, what would you like to do after high school? How can I help you get there? Leave your personal biases at the door. Not all students will want to continue schooling or live independently. And something that I thought was really interesting was that they shared about a single story, the TED Talk that Beth showed us in the beginning of our multicultural class. And it was really interesting after having the multicultural class how seeing that video was very different, how as educators it's extremely important that we don't create single stories about a certain group. And things that I want to apply in my teaching is leaving the bias at the door, not creating single stories about my students from what I've heard from the media. Creating a classroom where my minority students are heard and feel not just safe, but feel like their voices are heard. To be humble, I don't know everything about every culture or every student, and it is my job to learn and listen. And if I don't know something, to seek out where I can find it. And also it's important that when I'm learning and listening, not expecting my students to teach me, and to encourage cultural diversity by highlighting what makes my students special, having them talk about their unique cultures. Even though they may be from a certain culture, it's really important as a teacher that I not expect them to be what I think that culture will be. And the most important is highlight career diversity, helping them see that anyone can do any job. And I really enjoyed this presentation, and I really recommend you viewing it as future educators.